Hello, everyone, and happy Tuesday. I am here with Mike Vander of Waybook, one of my favorite platforms and one of my favorite people. Mike, thanks for joining us this morning.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me. This is our second live together, Chris. I think if you remember the first time we were an impromptu rooftop in London, so
That's
we're
right.
a bit more settled today. But yeah, it's great to see you. Great to be back.
Although there's something great to be said about impromptu, like
Love
in
it.
cool settings. That was one of those epic places. We were up on that roof and
Yeah,
it was like, let's do this. Let's
a
have fun.
crime not to go live with that view. Yeah, absolutely.
So listen, everyone, for those of you that don't know Waybook, it is one of my favorite platforms, and you all know me. I love systems, and I fell in love with Waybook when I first saw it years ago because it gives you a platform to organize all your systems, to create a structure to use for all your onboarding, to use as an ongoing, consistent tool with your team. It really was the platform that finally brought it all together and did all the things that so many platforms fell short on. So I wanted to have us here today, Mike, to take everyone through the highlights of some of the cool stuff and how it really benefits not just the owners and the business, but the teams, how it builds confidence and how it makes the structure so much easier to put in place. So people use it, and then we need them implementing those systems.
Yeah. Sometimes you see people with great systems minds. You know, we can see our business, we can think how things work, we know where everything is, and then it falls down because it just lives in our head, doesn't it? And then we're the ones that become the bottlenecks in our business. So yeah, Waybook started as a passion project because I am that guy. I am the kind of chaos in my head, and just needed to actually make sure that the systems we're building go into momentum, go through the team, empower everyone that we're doing. So yeah, I'm pleased that you got into Waybook pretty early on, if I remember. And yeah, you've been such a great advocate because, well, look at what you do, that you get it, right? You've seen the power within your businesses and many of your clients as well. So
I want to take people through a little bit of just the initial framework and talking it through. And then I know you're ready to kind of show us some of the couple of cool features that I am in love with lately. I've been talking them up and talking to people. And but first, I got to tell you, just yesterday, I was on the call with a business owner, and she started raving and telling me how much her team loves Waybook. It was just one of those like random moments, but it was so timely. But let me just share with you some of the feedback that I got, because I think this is so important with so many of us who we have this opportunity to like use something and then we see something where it falls short and we're not sure what to do. And with Waybook, so this business owner is telling me, oh, my team member Shelby loves Waybook. Like the whole team loves it, but Shelby loves it because she'll just reach out to the guys at Waybook and will say, hey, I can't get it to do this, or I found this problem. And your team, your developers will like jump on that. And within a month, they're rolling out the new feature or the fix to not just for her, but for everyone. And I know my team has had the same exact experience. Like your customer care is phenomenal. And this owner was like, our team loves it because when there's a problem, Waybook jumps in and fixes it and makes it better. And you don't get that very often with platforms. And so kudos to you.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that. It's something we're super proud of, actually. And we have a very clear vision and direction for Waybook, right? Waybook is designed to help businesses scale their teams more easily, scale their businesses more easily. And we have a long list of everything that's being added and being changed and kind of where this is going, kind of mitigate or comprising the cutting edge of technology with the reality of business. And despite us having this kind of very clear vision and pathway of where it's going, we love it when people have a very specific request that's really in the reeds of what they need more to get their team up. So that always takes precedent. And I must say that's just the team has this almost fanatic focus on being able to resolve things fast. One example of that is we heard from a customer that they use a lot of kind of like words within the business, which actually, even when they're training people on what those words are, it takes them 3 months before they actually fully understand it. So they said, it would be great if we could do that in an interesting way. So together we thought of this concept of a glossary, not a glossary that you need to learn in order to use the playbook, but actually something that works within the way that you kind of learn and train and adapt. So literally within 3 days, the team had built this amazing feature where you go in once and you just write all of the words or the clippings or the acronyms and what that means. And then instantly that's propagated across all of your Waybook. So if someone's going through and seeing some letters, they don't know what it is, you just hover over and it shows what it is. So that's just a small example of how we need that feedback from people to kind of keep on getting deeper and deeper into the value of systemizing businesses, really.
I love it. And I've got to tell you that my team, like, they have their own UIB terms or terms around UIB, because we use things all the time, like all these parts of a system. People like, okay, what is an SOP? Because some people aren't ready for that. Some people don't know that term. Like when I talk about workflows, right? It's a type of diagram or a flow chart, right? So we even have that kind of a glossary. But I love that you're doing this stuff. So listen, let's jump in on talking about, since I was using this as an example for the glossary of what is what. Hey, everyone, quick refresher. If you are talking systems, we have to be thinking about it of these 6 different parts of the circle. Policies and procedures are not the end all. That is only for your people that have a learning style that love to read and write, right? That's where they're going to go to. But you've got to have the videos. And that's why I love Waybook, because you can embed those videos or those little GIFs, different things. You've got to have the templates and examples. Those are great for your kinesthetic learners. They're the ones that want to see what perfect looks like and then jump in and start doing the template. And so right from Waybook, you can hyperlink to it. You can have the easy access so they can see the example. They can click right into the template. Flow charts and diagrams for your visual learners. I'm a visual learner. That's why I pop things on screen. Like that quick visual can bring it together for people. And then a checklist. Like this is the abbreviated version of a procedure, but it's what's going to add 3 to 5% profit to your margins. It's what reduces mental energy and helps your team get things done the right way. So I love building out all parts of the system, but listen, it's not me. It's the team that's building it out, because they're the ones that are jumping in and doing some of this stuff. They're the ones building. And that's what's so important to all of this. So go ahead, Mike.
So yeah, just 2 things to add on that. And I think that you're so right in the fact of the system of the business is the system of the business, but communicating that is actually what really matters. And everything you've put up on the screen there makes so much sense in terms of, yes, we should have these component parts. The additions that we try and have from a platform perspective is, personally, I learn from conversation, right? From actually figuring things out. And what we're really excited about in Waybook is the AI chat, which basically means that, yes, once we've got all of the information in there, instead of just rereading a document or rewatching a video, you can just chat with your knowledge. So if I say, what happens in this scenario? How do I do that? Where's the latest file over here? Waybook will actually kind of communicate with you, almost like ChatGPT, but exclusive on your company knowledge, specific to that individual user. And I think that's a different learning style that we've not really been able to do before, apart from having a manager for every person, which obviously doesn't scale very well. And then the other part of that from a learning perspective is also the ability to do that knowledge recall. So, okay, what different tests or assessments or quizzes to make sure that there is a more dynamic and engaged way of absorbing the information which is in the knowledge and procedures as well. So I think what you've got there makes sense for the systems and the learning, but in terms of actually pulling that into a culture that works from your kind of different learner style, it's really important.
Absolutely. And this is where so I'm going to jump to a couple of things we had created. I mean, I think for everyone, step one is building your system out with a structure, right? So that we understand, we all understand systems matter, but what do you document and where do you start? And this was one of the things I loved, Mike. I mean, when we've had our table of contents with the 6 key systems manuals and this organizational structure, but when I first saw Waybook, to see a bunch of this already propagated and to see that there were these categories that would allow me to start putting together a structure of, what are some of the ways we work around here? What are some of our policies on sick time or time off, or like being able to incorporate so many elements in an interactive fashion, like you said, that was great. So I know when people ask me, what do you document? Where do you start? I just say, just get started. Like whatever your current pain point is, whatever you're currently teaching your team, like start there and claw back 10 minutes for the rest of every week for the rest of the year. Like whatever that pain point is, start there.
I fully agree, and I think I'd love to kind of share how that looks in Waybook and how you bite into that apple. But in terms of the approach, and really this is first principles of systems, right? As the kind of owner of the business or the person that's driving forward, we almost feel like there are 2 modes that you should be in. It's either your core or your explore. And by that, I mean that as a senior leader in a business, it is our job to be the explorer, finding new ways of doing new things. And that means that in order to do that, it basically means that as soon as we've done something once, we then, as long as we're happy that that's the most currently optimal way of doing it, you should then document that, delegate that, make it part of the system, and then it becomes a core activity. So repeating the process, repeating the procedure, doing whatever that may be. That is then a core activity that can be delegated and done by somebody else, by another team member. It can even be automated, which then means that we have more time and headspace for us and our other leaders to actually then do more exploring. And that actually is the way of driving forward. So to your point about how do you start, it's literally what are you doing more than once? And if you're doing something more than once, just document it. And then instantly you won't have to do that again. Or even if you do it again, I have a lot of the procedures that I do on a semi-regular basis, maybe once a month, once every 2 months, documented in Waybook. And it just removes that mental load for me. Because every time I come up and just fire through payroll payments, I just load up the sheet and then I just tick it off as I go. And that means, okay, that task mentally has now just really become nothing, if you like. It's quite exciting. So yeah, starting with what you're doing regularly makes total sense. The other thing, now I know you've got the amazing table of contents, which basically is the recipe that you have instantly and all of the packages that you have. But the other way of doing it is asking your team, what aligned to your core responsibility, what are the 3, 4, 5 main things that constitutes most of your time? Because if you can get that systemized, then it basically means that, again, it removes their mental load. You can then operate on how that's being done. So you can then actually fine tune how the business is working rather than just being within the business all of the time. And then that actually empowers your team to move much faster from that perspective as well. So yeah, starting with anything makes sense, but actually if you do the things that make the most amount of time or use the most amount of time, then you're really setting yourself up for success.
Love it. And this is best practices for clarity, consistency. You nailed it with like document it. And then that's what gives people the clarity and the knowledge, and then the ability to pull up these checklists, right? That gives that consistency. I love that you and I are just talking the same language.
I know. We've always had this question since we first met. We were like, oh, are we brain. Do you know what I think is the main difference between us though? And correct me if I'm wrong here. I feel like you are born into this world. Like you have a systems brain, right? Like this is Kristen's mind. For me, I am pure chaos, right? As in, if I didn't have this in the business, then we would just be, or I would just be chasing my tails and spinning around. Like, and I don't know. I came across a study the other day where they say like 30%, 29% of entrepreneurs have ADHD, as opposed to 5% of the general population. Now, it's not all about ADHD, but that just shows that this kind of like constant need to move and jump and adapt and whatever else is more inherent with business owners and entrepreneurs than anybody else. So if you don't have systems like this in place, then you're just setting yourself up for failure as you move through.
Yeah.
To the point on best practice as well, I think it's really important to add when we're looking at building systems, building documentation, building processes. If you gave 100 people an empty Word document and say, write a process for this, it would normally be like War and Peace. It would normally be a 30-page document with any little bit you need to know. Whereas actually that often isn't the case. That what works well. What works well is highly unambiguous, very specific for what people need to know for the thing that they're doing. And as soon as you extract all of the kind of fluff around communicating what people need to know, it really speeds up that kind of both adoption of content or creation of content and learning of that information as well. So we actually separate the creation of procedures into two parts. We say note for yourself and then edit for someone else. So don't write a procedure, just bullet point what happens, and then just tweak it to make sure that it's more easily ready to share. And I know you do that a lot internally with empowering your team to do that as well, right?
Yeah. Every week, a member of my team, each member like submits one submission, one change, one improvement, one clarification. And I love, like, someone will take a checklist. And then one of my favorite sayings is, who shall do what by when? And so the checklist is usually the what in bullet points. And so to create the longer procedure, it's simply add the who needs to do it. So there's ownership, and by when, right?
Yeah.
And so, or in the reverse, you take a longer procedure and turn it into a checklist by just bullet pointing the what items real quick. And so, it's just bringing that clarity and helping the team. And that way we can do what we all love, which is delegate. So let's talk a little bit about the next part of train smarter, not harder, and onboarding. I mean, I talk about Waybook in our hiring and onboarding boot camp. I talk about it in so many of our systems packages on how to hire, onboard, and work with. We now have like 8 different positions. Client happiness, intake specialist is coming. But onboarding is one of those areas where I feel like people have great ambition on day one, and then it kind of falls apart. So let's talk about how Waybook speeds up the onboarding. And you've got these new super cool learning pathways that people can use for different team members, because everyone has to maybe learn some different elements, and how this like helps in the long term. And I'd love if you could share your screen and share for everybody a little bit about like what it looks like to like maybe do an onboarding or kind of give them some flavor.
Yeah, well, that definitely, let's do that. I think the key distinction that we made with Waybook early on that has kind of delivered a lot of this cut through is, if you look in the world of kind of knowledge, right? You look in the world of training on a learning management system or an LMS, where they have these structured trainings that people need. I don't know if you've got a connection issue here actually, but
It just started to flake. I was just looking at that too, going, I wonder
It
what
doesn't, it
happened.
doesn't like what I'm saying. It's just trying to blank me out here. But yeah, so people will have these learning management systems or loads of documents. And then the onboarding is very much dependent on how much that one manager can give to that one person in this short period of time. And then after that, people will often get a bunch of documents in a SharePoint or a Notion or a Google Drive. That means that if they've got any questions, they need to dig through and update and kind of refresh. Whereas the whole premise of Waybook is creating this single source of truth. So
Oh, I don't know if we lost you again for a second, but I heard single source of truth, and then which I love.
I gave you the secret meaning of life in that bit, but we'll come back to that later. So Waybook is that single source of truth. That means that as the knowledge owner or the business owner, you can structure all of your information in a way that can become that organized learning pathway, the onboarding, but then acts as that first line response for the questions, for the queries, for the kind of the chat, or basically making sure that people stay up to date on the information. Shall I share my screen and show the learning pathways you mentioned?
Here, let me. There we go.
Amazing. Awesome. So this is, as you're familiar, this is a standard Waybook Dash. It will have all of your kind of individual branding and colors. Let me adjust it a little bit there. So yeah, so all of your branding and logos and whatnot. And as you were saying there, Kristen, the organization of your Waybook is very much here on the left-hand side. So you've got your folders of information, the different pieces of things that you're sharing. And then in each of these, so if we go into the sales handbook, we've then got the lead generation and how we do that procedure, how we do sales calls, how we, kind of have all of our policies and procedures. So this is essentially the brain, the organization of the.
I love it. I love it.
This really, really easily by either the templates, including your. I know you very kindly give the templates to your to your clients there as well. But you can also generate this. So let's say write a playbook for a legal practice, and describing the business. Waybook will actually.
I love the use of the AI in here.
Yeah, it's really, it just takes so much time out of it. So yeah, these are some of the fundamental documents we need. And then of course we can create them into the and creating that information. So that's now.
I can see so many uses. I can see so many uses on as AI develops and as we develop our teams and we have niches to be able to like use that function to like make these elements even better, like to constantly be refining it. Absolutely.
Totally. And what I love about that is obviously a lot of people use the search, right? So once they're onboarding, which we'll come to, specific question, you can say, well, what is our main?
Oh, I think we're getting some resistance here.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know. I don't know if it's StreamYard that's not liking us or some connection. But
So I'm going to try, Mike, removing this for a second and see if we can jump in. I'll actually share with everybody for a quick second, couple of R's while we kind of reset here.
Yeah, sounds great.
If I can add one of my screens here.
Change internet, see if that's better.
Yeah. So everyone, this is, for instance, one of our dash or our Waybooks where you've got, you could have your whole executive assistant manual, your client happiness coordinator manual. So you've got all the content, all the information in here so that when somebody is onboarding, they can go through and learn about your different elements, your quarterly plannings. And then at the end of each chapter, they have a quiz so they can do the different questions and you can see what percentage they've completed as part of their onboarding. And you can also create these amazing paths that say, okay, I want this human to do the general systems manual, then the client happiness coordinator manual, and then maybe they need access to some of your brand guidelines. So your work-life balance and the company glossary, so that they've got access to different items. And that way you can create a more customized path for their onboarding. So I love it. Mike,
Yeah.
obviously a huge fan of all this stuff, but
Thanks. Yeah. So sorry. I think my connection might be back. I'm only in central London, so a remote part of the world that's not fully connected. But yeah, let me show you the paths if that's interesting. Just
yeah.
on that.
Let's see if we've got
all of that information. But the learning path is essentially then customizing the route for those documents for an individual set of users. So here we can just pull in the relevant documents, order what needs to be done. And what we like to do is actually enable
Oh, I love deadlines. I'm a deadlines girl.
Exactly. And what's great about that individual user. So if you've joined, somebody who the same role was joined 3 months later, those deadlines are relevant to that person from when they joined. But ultimately, this is about not overwhelming those users. So that will then fully customize that experience for that individual team member. That means that they're doing what they need to do when they need to do it.
So cool. So cool. And I just got to show you some of the notes that we're getting in the comments in the live streams. This was from a LinkedIn user saying how much they love Waybook and have helped clients put it together. Another person, love how this looks, Marcella. I know Melanie has been dropping some great nuggets in the chat as well. So you guys, Waybook is one of my favorite places to hang out because it shows me also so much of the collaboration by the team to put things together. And so once we get through that onboarding, we're able to kind of move forward. So the final thing I wanted to talk about, Mike, I know we're dealing with some connectivity issues, but we talked about in the last one, the onboarding and the learning pathways, but how Waybook just creates so much consistency for the team and how we can empower the team to contribute and to put in the documentation, and it gives them real ownership and a platform that everybody can utilize. Will you talk just a little bit about your experience with some of the teams and how they've really adapted and implemented and loved Waybook? You get to see thousands of users.
Yes, of course. Yeah. I think what's become really interesting is how when somebody has access to their knowledge, they can see their role, they can see how that works within the business. They basically don't just have a stronger understanding of what they're doing, they have a stronger understanding of how that impacts and fits in with the rest of the business, which basically means that they're then more empowered to make suggested edits or make updates or give feedback on on procedures and documents, which almost creates this interesting culture of iterative development on how you work in the business rather than just the work you're doing. And we've basically seen that over the more that somebody has been in a Waybook, typically you'll start with one knowledge owner, one person that kind of creates the structure. A few other people will start to build that information. And then if someone's been with Waybook for, let's say, 2 years, you tend to notice they give more edit access to some of the people actually doing those processes, because we know that the fine-tuned edits of how to actually optimize and do things more efficiently actually needs to come from the people doing that work and them spotting those opportunities to do that. So I actually often tell people about what you do within your organization, that each one of your team members every 2 weeks will have to make an update to how that procedure is documented. So not even necessarily saying, make this procedure better, but make the communication of this procedure better. And I think what you've done there, which is so genius, is that it almost takes someone outside of the work they're doing, and being able to discuss how you do the work just really creates a different perspective that empowers people and moves the business moving forward. So I've given you an example of you there, which I know might not be the example that you're asking for, but I'm sure for anyone watching finds that as insightful and fascinating as I do.
Well, listen, I love that people are, it really anchors in their learning when they have to teach it to someone else, or when they go to that higher level of saying, this is how to improve the procedure. So they go from just being a user to like a manager, to like looking at how this is going to impact other people that use it this way. And I love that ability to help people learn and grow and adapt. So yes, I could talk systems all day long, but I know we need to wrap up. Mike, thank you so much for jumping on today. I know it's early here on the West Coast of the US. I just left Paris this weekend, but you're over in London. And I know that so many people are going to be interested in Waybook. We're going to pop into the down below into the chats how to check out Waybook. We've got a special link for you all. So step 1 is check out Waybook. If you haven't already seen it, everyone, it's just one of my favorite platforms. And step 2 is get your procedures manuals. We've got all these systems packages at UIB, and they're on sale right now. If you're watching the replay, they may not still be on sale, but we're having some fun with March Madness here in the US. But I want people to like shorten the build time and start jumping right to being able to implement. And that's what, getting these systems packages. And Mike, I know we're talking about getting it so that we can put those right into Waybook for folks. I'm super excited about that development. It's so much great stuff coming.
Absolutely. And yeah, look, we have a lot of UIB businesses that are using your systems packages within Waybook, and we know that there's something to be said for being able to truly hit the ground running with the content that you've spent years kind of honing and crafting and optimizing. So I'm sure I'm preaching to the
yeah,
converted of your packages across all of the businesses that are using them. So yeah, thanks so much for
well, I love that we get to use. Yeah, I love that we get to use a platform like Waybook where it truly allows us to do so many things, and people don't have to leave to go watch a video. They don't have to, like, we can embed things straight in and make it so it's a great learning experience, but it's also that information base, so they know where to go back and find the information when they later have another question about it. So love Waybook. Well, listen, everyone, I want to get us wrapped up and let you move on with your day. Mike, thank you so much for joining us today. It's always a
Thank you
pleasure.
so much. Yeah. Next time I'll make sure that I'm not on a dial-up connection as well. So hopefully it's
you got to go somewhere other than London to do your live
somewhere
stream.
in London. Yeah. I'll come to the West Coast next time. Don't worry.
There you go. Well, awesome. We had great information you were able to share. And if anybody has any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, or we can get you in contact with Mike. He and his team are absolutely fabulous with their customer service and answering questions, helping you on your journey of building systems. So thank you, Mike, for all you do. And we'll see you
Likewise.
soon.
Thank you so much. Have a great one. Take care now.
Bye, everyone.